Pit bull type dogs now need to be muzzled and registered in Montreal. No word yet on if a similar law is going to be applied to Donald Trump. It's time for another podcast. Not quite live from Forget the Box Studios in Montreal. This is the FTB Podcast, the only podcast you're listening to right now. And welcome to the podcast. We're recording this on Sunday, October the 2nd. A belated Lashana Tova to all of our Jewish viewers and listeners, because this is coming up online a few days later. I'm your host, Jason C. McLean. Let's meet our panel.
Hi, I'm Casey Rosner, innovator and empath.
Hi, I'm Velma Candyass, local personality.
My name is Vincent Simboli. I'm a panelist at Forget the Box.
And, of course, we're recording this in Montreal, and Montreal has been in the news lately for not very good reasons. Montreal Mayor Denis Coderre's Pit Bull Ban has come into effect. Hannah Besseau has this report.
Mayor Denis Coderre's controversial ban on pit bulls passed Monday's City Council with a vote of 37 for and 23 against. The animal control bylaw, which goes into effect Monday, bans new adoption of pit bulls and imposes new rules for owners of pit bull type dogs, including mandatory special registration at the cost of $150 and muzzling when in public. The SPCA, meanwhile, is taking the city to court over its breed-specific legislation. Singer Cyndi Lauper even called this a sad day in Montreal in a Facebook post. But the law does not affect just pit bulls or even just dogs. Cats now have to be licensed and microchipped in Montreal's 19 boroughs. Pets also can't leave their owner's property. It's unclear how this bylaw will be enforced. This all began when a woman died from dog bites, which later turned out not to be from a pit bull. She was also not bitten by a cat. So, is this really populism in spite of lack of evidence, or is it an overreaching cash grab?
Wow, so I think I know my answer. I think this is a total cash grab. I mean, I guess we could all agree on that right now before getting into this. I mean, I think it's absolutely appalling and ridiculous. You know, I didn't realize this was a cash grab at first. At first, I thought that this was just basically Coderre trying to be a populist, thinking that all these people were against pit bulls. But then surveys started coming out showing people opposed to this ban, but yet he stuck with it, and it passed. And then you find out that cats are affected too, and like there's a whole bunch of some of the new things we learned today. Like, for example, you said how they're going to enforce it.
Yeah, I found out that actually Quebec hired a private security firm to enforce and ticket owners that are not tagging their animals. And so this comes into effect tomorrow. So, belatedly by the time you see this. So,
2 days ago by the time you see this.
2 days ago, Monday. So if you have not already tagged your pit bull or other animal, please go ahead and do so, because the private security firm has the wherewithal and authority to seize your dog and euthanize it.
Yeah,
pretty scary. It's
horrible. It's that's one thing, and it seems like, I mean, Coderre is I think this will hurt him politically. I mean, Montreal is like, there's actually a huge petition saying don't come to Montreal as a tourist. That's happening. Cyndi Lauper's against it. I mean...
Will Pitbull the musician be allowed to come?
I don't think so, but maybe that's not a bad thing.
He might need a muzzle.
He might need a muzzle. Yeah, that might hurt his concert. But I actually don't know his music, so...
It's going to be a little difficult, yeah.
No word yet on that. I don't actually know his music. But no, this is something that's... The fact that it's so clear what he's doing, and people still might vote for Denis Coderre. I don't think people would vote for Denis Coderre after this. It depends if people still remember. The election's in a year, right? Mm-hmm. Like, I mean, if this is what he's known for, if he's known for this mass... Because right now, people in Nova Scotia and Alberta, even the States, are taking in pit bulls. Because the ones that are in the shelters, though they can't be adopted, they're going to have to be euthanized. It's like this mass slaughter. And that's what Coderre has on his record. And, I mean, do you guys think Coderre's going to get in again? Like...
Well, I think it's a very hasty set of legislation that's been brought in. It's not well thought out. It's clearly just in a rush to get something out, and it's a big problem. It's a big problem because nobody is happy with this legislation, and what do we do with the animals in the shelter, with the people who already own dogs that. There's backyard breeders. We're not dealing with enough of the issues of of too many animals out on the street. There's not enough people to adopt many animals. There's not enough good owners versus bad owners, quote unquote. There's multiple issues involved with it, and yet at the same time, it is a cash grab.
Yeah, exactly. He's taking the easiest line and to confuse everybody by having them talk about breed-specific legislation and whether it's moral, whether it's immoral, and the discourse is that. The discourse isn't the fact that the city's going to be raking in tons of money off this.
So one of my main criticisms about this is just that the science and the numbers behind this are really bad. Mm-hmm. Really, really. Because first of all, they're basing their numbers off of reported dog bites, right? Mm-hmm. And many people who have pit bull type dogs or pit bull mixes are not going to register them as pit bulls because of the stigma and because of there's a lot of reasons not to register your dog as a pit bull, right? So there's that. And then of the dog bites that they're counting, these are only ones that have been reported to police. And this is not a pit bull bit somebody police report. This is a pit bull was implicated in an attack to a police report. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, I mean, that alone is really, really bad statistics because you're looking at numbers that are only available to police, and of those numbers, only ones that are implicating pit bulls, not that have proven to be used,
Like the woman who died, which started this whole thing, she wasn't bitten by a pit bull.
Yeah.
And Coderre just ignored that. And you showed the interesting statistic from Toronto that in Toronto, where this was in effect, yes, the number of bites went down, but the number of dogs went down by way more. So like it doesn't reduce bites. It doesn't really serve any public service except for maybe
targeting a specific set of breeds or
a specific kind of people who own a specific kind of breed too.
Yeah.
Well, there is certainly a culture of a type of owners. There is a certain segment of owners that have a tendency of wanting to own aggressive, mm-hmm. quote unquote, or pit bull type breeds, Rottweilers and such. Mm-hmm. And certainly there is a culture of wanting to have aggressive type dogs. And so that there is more breeding of and characteristics, brought into these dogs more and more. And so that leaves also good owners who take care of their dogs perfectly fine, but then you've got a whole set of people that really should not be owning dogs in the first place.
Yeah, I mean, if they're the ones,
and we're not dealing enough with those sort of issues, and we're not dealing enough with having stray dogs, too many dogs in shelters, too many cats in shelters, too many stray feral cats out on the street.
Well, shut down the puppy mills and the kitten mills. I mean, they just if someone wants a new dog or a cat, they adopt one from a shelter. Like that should be. I mean, it's, I guess, the profit motive again, when they want a certain breed, something like that.
And
so
foster dogs and foster organizations. There's plenty of specialized foster organizations for dash huns, for corgis, you name it. There's a rescue group for a specific breed.
Fluffy dog.
The big fluffy dog
but
rescue.
This has opened up a whole. I mean, the whole thing of one thing I've noticed is when we started reporting on this, Unforget the Box, I wrote a few articles against this ban. The kind of people that had never agreed with me on anything before started agreeing with me, to a major degree. So this is it's bringing. I mean, you brought this up earlier. He's bringing in a whole new set of. It's almost like a coming together moment for people who disagree on everything else.
Yes, everybody's time to become a dog person. It's now.
Yeah.
Casey and I were talking about this on the way over, where to me it seems that a lot of the people in my network who are so vehemently into pit bulls and into animal rights often, and I'm making a sweeping generalization here, are the people who seem to have the least empathy for racial tension and the least empathy for issues involving race and class in the US and Canada. It seems like a lot of that, the types of people who are really, really interested in protecting dogs, who use the rhetoric of not all of this breed is bad, seem to have a very hard time grasping that with people. And Tracy had an interesting point about that too.
Yes. Essentially, what we are speaking about, exactly that. It's actually shocking to go on my Facebook newsfeed and exactly see the type of situation where we have individuals who are extremely into the racial rhetoric that's very divisive, in my opinion, jumping on the bandwagon to support all dogs are wonderful rhetoric, which I'm okay with for the dogs, but when it speaks to the social disparities that are occurring in the U.S. and Canada right now, it's It's absolutely abhorring to have these both occurring at the same time, especially very overwhelming for an empath.
It's abhorrent, but it might be the thing that finally undoes Denis Coderre. I mean, he needs this money from the Pit Bull Ban so he can pay for what, fake trees on the mountain?
Or the
granite
bridge,
slabs.
or the lights on the bridge, or those tree stumps.
Yeah, the tree stumps.
And I'm looking forward to singing the song of RDP.
Yeah, there's going to be
because
a
it
national
costs
anthem.
$200,000, and I want to sing this on a tree stump.
A national anthem for Rivière de Prairie. If you guys don't know, the Denis Coderre, I think these tree stumps are just ugly. Like, they don't, like, if you want to do corruption, fine, but at least make it something people want. Like, I mean, the Olympic Stadium, yeah, that was overpriced or overrated, but at least we got a stadium that people could play baseball in for a few years.
Function.
Yeah, but for a few years it worked, right? We got
Sorta,
something.
kind of, yeah.
But no, if you want to sit on something on the mountain, if you want to sit on something nice and man-made and human-made, sit on the bench. If you want to sit on a tree, sit on a tree stump. Don't sit on why make a fake tree? Why make an uncomfortable chair for $2 million?
Laughing in the face of ecology everywhere.
Yes. It seems like it's just like, I mean, like austerity for everyone but friends of the mayor. But I mean,
But that's a Montreal tradition.
yeah, but
As we all know, right?
as we all
Brown
know.
envelopes are available to be brought to the back of City Hall.
Yeah, but honestly,
And PayPal.
I think this mayor has
PayPal.
taken it to a whole new level. I want to be like worst mayor ever, but and we had mayors that got arrested in office. This one though, I think is the worst mayor ever. I don't know. Can we get a consensus on that one?
I don't know if I can speak to that, but I would like to bring up something that we kind of touched on, but not really. It's like, my big question is why $150 to register your dog? Like, why is that the big number if it wasn't a cash grab?
Yeah, exactly. Like, it's not like in the safe so basically it's saying only people with enough money should be able to own these dogs.
Right,
It's
financial discrimination of the
Yeah.
highest degree.
Exactly. It's like we want to get rid of these dogs, but if you have enough money, you can keep your dog. You know, if it's like almost like saying if
It's
you're
a luxury tax, actually.
Yeah.
Exactly.
It's a luxury tax. If you're rich enough, or if you similar thing would be like if you're white enough, or if you're whatever enough,
yeah,
you
exactly.
can do like you have this advantage. I'm not going to take that away from everybody. Just the poor people come on. Like that's what he pretty much his logic and his lack of logic thereof. But there is some stuff that's good happening in Montreal, and we're going to get to that in our news roundup segment.
News Roundup.
The Quebec Ministry of Health is finally releasing $12 million to open 3 supervised injection sites over the next 3 years. These plus 1 mobile unit as well. The 3 sites will be Cactus, Spectre de Rue, and Dopamine. Now, I think this is a good idea. I think this is something that's long overdue. And I think this is something that has a proven track record of working. I guess...
And it reaches a very specific segment of the population
Yeah.
that normally would not be able to get help.
Yeah. And I guess the Quebec government is doing something right. I have trouble saying that, but like it's
a shock.
It happens every now and then. But yeah, I mean, this is something that I think is sorely needed. Because what's happening recently, we're talking, for example, fentanyl. There were a lot of overdoses in BC. People not doing their drugs supervised, thinking it's heroin, or maybe not caring that it's mixed, and dying. And this is something that's going to help save a lot of lives, I think.
So one of the important things about a supervised injection site is not just that it's a safe place to inject, it's that you have materials on hand to prevent problems if something does happen. There's Narcan available, there's trained staff who know what to look for with an overdose, but perhaps most importantly, there's testing agents to decide what is and to show straight up what is and is not pure and that sort of thing. I don't know if these sites are going to have that, but typically, like the ones in British Columbia, I believe that's what they have.
Yeah, I think it's also important to remember that if anybody out there watching at home, that if you or a loved one is overdosing from anything, you will not get in trouble, and they will not get in trouble if you call the police in the hospital. It's paramount to saving a life. So I think these clinics will definitely help saving lives. Especially, I'm really impressed about the mobile site. I think that's really important to increasing access and to making sure that disenfranchised members of the population have the materials that they need to inject and overcome their addictions safely.
Yeah. So that's some good news. I guess speaking about drugs and lives in Colombia, bit of a segue there. There was a vote actually, basically between whether or not the government should continue dealing with the paramilitary groups which are funded by the drug cartels. And it looks like that vote is going south. It looks like that people don't want them to have any kind of negotiations with them.
So what's interesting about this is the FARC, La Fuerzas Armadas Revolucionaria Colombiana Ejército Popular, FARC, is funded by drug trade and has brought over the past quarter century a tremendous amount of violence to the rural areas in Colombia. The provinces that voted in this referendum, and it was a very low turnout of a very low portion of the population, of these provinces, the ones who were the most affected by the violence voted for the continued negotiations. Those that voted against were the urban centers where FARC is not really a power. So one of the issues about this is that the reasoning behind, so far as I can gather, why people would vote no for this is the people in the urban areas are very, very concerned, understandably, about people involved in FARC who've been accused of war crimes can be granted immunity if they testify. I would understand the reasoning for not wanting that to be part of the negotiation.
Yeah.
But I think that the other reason, which was we don't want higher taxes for clinics and schools and roads in rural areas to prevent something like FARC from happening, that's incredibly selfish. I don't want to pay more taxes so that more people in the rural areas can survive. I mean, that's... Jeez.
It all comes down to like, how does it affect me, right? Like that's
not in my backyard.
Not in my backyard, yeah. And like, I mean, one backyard that's littered with landmines is the border between North Korea and South Korea. And recently, there was a defector from the north to the south, and now the south is urging more North Koreans to defect. I mean, this can't really end well, can it?
Nah, I think it was definitely a button issue because, number one, it was a North Korean soldier that defected, and he just decided he had enough patrolling one day. And I think it's also buttoned because it was the South Korean president that had said, come on over. Yeah, defecting is now. So
that's never happened before, right?
That's exactly it. That's the first time it's ever happened.
Almost sounds like East Germany is happening.
The Berlin Wall, it's not a wall, it's a minefield. It's a
little
bit.
No, but once you start getting the military starting to defect, that's, that's a clear sign that there are things going on within North Korea that... clearly things are falling apart.
The control of the government is falling apart. But I mean, one thing about North Korea is like I know that their leader, Kim Jong-un, definitely doesn't like any form of criticism. In fact, even if it's a movie, there was a movie I remember, I can't remember the name of this film, but it wasn't released in theaters because they were fearing attacks from North Korea on the theaters, but it did end up on Netflix, which was down yesterday. Netflix was down for a few hours.
That is a sign of the apocalypse coming.
I know. People said that Luke Cage broke Netflix. You guys think Luke Cage broke Netflix?
I think it's a definite possibility. If anyone could break Netflix, it'd probably be Luke Cage.
You can't shoot him. Yeah, he's bulletproof.
Hey.
Yeah, that's the new show on Netflix. I haven't watched it yet myself, but I did see Jessica Jones, which was the other Marvel show of like sort of real life superheroes, and I like this direction they're going because I love sci-fi, I love Star Wars, I love Star Trek. I never got into and I like the DC stuff like Batman, Superman, but I never saw the Avengers even. But I saw Jessica Jones, and I really liked it. I really liked the human superhero type, and I'm looking forward to Luke Cage as well too.
I love sci-fi that is like a bit less extreme stuff that totally could happen and is plausible and all that. And I haven't seen Luke Cage yet. I did watch the first episode of Jessica Jones. It was awesome, but like I love just ratcheting the gain up on reality a little bit, right? Because that's what good sci-fi is, just making you think like, what if, right?
The possibilities
exactly.
of, yeah.
Well, 1984 got it right with the Apple cordless earphones. So
yeah, the earphones designed to be lost in the couch. I don't know if that's. But there's other great shows on Netflix. I mean, House of Cards is coming back. One of my favorites. I have not seen it yet, so no spoilers. But I know everyone likes Stranger Things.
I spent a sizable chunk of last afternoon watching interviews with the children on that show, the cast, right? And I want 4 kids, and I want them to be those 4 kids. I would like for one of them to have psychic powers, but I'll settle for no powers as well. They're incredible actors. They're child actors who nail it, and that's so rare, right? And it's a sci-fi show that isn't all lasers and explosions. I mean, there's a sizable amount of that stuff, but it's such a subtle show, and I really like that about it. Anybody else been watching it?
No, I'm waiting to marathon binge it.
Yeah,
that's a great idea. I did marathon binge it, and I would do it again with you.
The thing is,
it's on.
It's on. For me, those kind of shows, like I know this with House of Cards. I'm like, I gotta dedicate some time. Like, I'm gonna take the day off. I'm gonna get a bunch of food, maybe some popcorn. I won't finish it all in one day, but then there's the next day, and that's. And one thing I'm wondering about watching, it seems interesting. It's a remake of the Rocky Horror Picture Show on film. Now I know Rocky has been like redone on stage a number of times. People always do a live stage show in front of the theater, but it was originally controversial that they're actually Fox is remaking the movie as a TV movie. And then I guess the controversy died down a bit when it was announced that Tim Curry's actually going to be in it. He's playing the criminologist, though.
Oh, okay, that explains it then.
So he's
okay.
playing.
And
Like,
Laverne Cox is
Laverne
in it.
Cox is Frankenfurter, and they had a clip there. I saw Tim Curry was like, "It's just a jump to the left." Him saying it, and I was like, "Okay, I can see this." But yeah, Laverne Cox is great as Frankenfurter. There's a few other like Adam Levine, I think it's
From Maroon 5?
Yeah, I think so. We should have googled
Or Adam
the cast.
Lambert.
Adam Lambert.
There you
Yes.
Oh, that makes more sense.
Yes, that's,
Yes, Adam Lambert's in it. I don't know who here's a huge
I'm not
Rocky.
too sure. I like some of the casting in it, but I like the fact that when Rocky Horror was shot, it was a film of its time, right?
Yeah.
And so the budget was lower. It's much more grittier. It was much more grittier. This is a really high end.
Oh yeah.
Very fancy production. I mean, Laverne Cox's costume. I mean, we're not talking like it's a $300, back of the wardrobe.
It's not Tim Curry with a bit of makeup. It's,
No,
it's like a real
this is like some fancy sparkles going on here. So it's perhaps maybe a little too glitzy.
I think as long as it's treated as an homage, as an adaptation, and I don't if they start playing this in theaters on Halloween, I will lose it. But like I think if it's good, if it's an homage, that's great. But as long as the original is still there, as like they're not releasing this as a movie, I think that's good. They're making it a TV movie. Like I mean, I was a huge who here is a huge Rocky fan.
Yes.
Yes,
Wait,
everyone.
Rocky Horror or Rocky?
What Rocky Horror?
Okay.
Have you?
Not Rocky.
No, that would be an
Okay,
odd
okay.
thing to discuss. But would you go to the theater, for example, on Halloween? Have you been to the
Yeah,
theater?
of course. I've been to many different showings.
Do you
I
wear
get all dressed
costumes?
up,
You throw things at the audience?
toast,
course.
newspapers.
I have not. But has
nine
anyone ever been
yards.
part of the Rocky
This
Stagecast?
is why I've never gone, because I don't
People
like
It's a whole
stuff getting thrown at
participatory-
me.
oh,
I
it's
don't
an
like the
amazing-
whole
No,
virgin
it's-
thing.
It's
not
truly
not
like
for me.
the definition of
It's an
participatory
experience.
theater.
On her 60th birthday, my mother was in Paris with her sister, and her sister took her to Rocky Horror Picture Show. And she was like, "Whoa, they were throwing things." She loved it. Like it's a good first experience. Like it's
Fair enough.
Yeah, but people are gonna get so mad if they start throwing newspapers at their TVs and like toast at their TVs. You know?
that's the thing is like
That's- yeah.
this is just an homage. This is like the proper cinematic version, whereas the other one is the real Rocky Horror Picture Show.
I don't know. I don't know how easily I'm gonna accept that definition. I'm
Will you
sorry,
watch it?
but- Will I watch it?
For
Out
sure.
of Laverne Cox, 100%.
Absolutely, I'm
Absolutely.
going to watch it.
You
Yes.
gonna watch it?
In
Yeah,
solidarity
I
with
want to see it
her.
on live
Right.
though.
But at the same
Yeah.
time, to what extent, where does the line blur between homage and classic Fox News remake?
I think what they did though is some interesting thing, and you say Fox News, and maybe that was a slip of the tongue. but
That
one
was.
thing- There's a very different thing between Fox and Fox News. Fox is the network that gave us The Simpsons. Remember, like that was a groundbreaking show. Fox News is the network that gave us racism. We already had racism, but it amplified it a lot. But on the one thing I saw that they're doing, which is pretty interesting. I think they're doing this. I saw a little bit of the trailer. I think they're actually having some of the characters say some of the classic audience response lines.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
like in one of the songs.
Oh, I didn't pick that up then.
Like-
That'll be interesting to
Yeah.
see where it goes with that.
So like now the audience is becoming the audience. No, sorry. Now the actors.
It's very
becoming the
meta.
audience.
Yeah, like it's
exactly.
acknowledging the cult. It's acknowledging everything that's
Okay.
around it. And I mean, the Rocky Horror Picture Show might not be the only horror on the screens in the United States of America for much longer. I mean,
I don't know.
there was a bit of a debate on Monday. Some of us watched it, and Hannah Besseau has this report.
Last Thursday marked the presidential debates between Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump.
Well, this has been an illuminating debate, but now it's time for our final...
Alicia Machado.
I'm sorry, what was that? Who is Alicia Machado?
Thank you for bringing that up, Lester. She is a strong beautiful political prop that I almost forgot to mention tonight, even though we already made a web video about her.
While this is a clip from an SNL sketch that aired Saturday, it is not too different from the actual debate that occurred. Hillary Clinton, the career politician, thoroughly outmatched Republican presidential nominee Donald Trump, whose rhetoric of bigotry and hatred did not stand up to the well-prepared former Secretary of State. Beyond that, Trump attempted to counter Hillary's well-prepared attacks. There were a team of fact-checkers employed by the Hillary campaign who were live fact-checking the debate. Many of Trump's counters did more harm than good.
I was going to say something extremely rough to Hillary tonight, but I said to myself, I can't do it, I just can't do it. But if I had said it, it would have been a nuclear bomb. Because in the 90s, our president was a man named Bill Clinton. Not many people know this, but that man is her husband. And in 1998, get this, he had an affair. It's true. My investigators are looking into it right now. It was a woman named Monica. I don't have her last name yet, but when I get it, I'm going to set my alarm for 3:20 a.m. and go sit on my golden toilet bowl and tweet about it until completion.
Oh my God. Just to remind everyone at home, this was the presidential debate.
Since the debate, Hillary is up in polls.
You know, that was the strangest episode of Monday Night Raw I've ever seen. I starting with a joke, because I mean this sort of election is kind of a joke until it gets really serious. Did everybody here see the debate?
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
Unfortunately,
It was quite the show.
So what would you guys think? You think it was some very level-headed conversation, very
Cartoonish, very cartoonish.
Cirque du Soleil's new material is definitely different from their last stuff.
I'm kind of disappointed that Hillary Clinton didn't get a chance to go in for the kill, you know? Like, the words, I'm taking this from, I think, so, I forget where I read this, but it's not my original thought, I apologize. The words David Duke never escaped that woman's lips, and I'm really bummed about that. She had a lot of opportunities to really just decimate him, and it was kind of a lot of back and forth, and there was a lot of chances to, you know.
That would have been a good one. I think one of the areas, there's two areas though. I mean, overall Trump looked like an idiot, but there's two areas where Clinton I think was limited, especially talking about racial justice, for example, because she is the one who did make that super predator comment, so she couldn't go all like Black Lives Matter all in sort of thing on that. Like, she had to, so she could go after him, but she still had to keep that sort of mainstream streak going, which is unfortunate, because I would have liked to see somebody really nail him on that. And the thing where I think she won the last 2/3 of the debate, but one thing that he did, which might actually, I hate to say it, give him the presidency, is when he talked about the TPP. And specifically, he name-checked Ohio and Michigan and tried to make it seem like, even though Clinton says she's against the TPP, he was trying to actually really nail her on that, because he knows that if they don't believe she's fully against the TPP, they might just vote for him, like white working-class voters in those states. Mm-hmm. And that, I think, is his plan, and that's where he actually, like, that would have been a great time for Clinton to have thrown Obama under the bus, the one and only time. Because Obama's trying to pass the TPP. If she wanted to really show she was against it, she could have criticized the president there, and I think then she would have shut him down completely. And that's the one thing I think where Trump, did okay. But the rest of the time, he just looked like a complete idiot.
Buffoon.
A complete buffoon.
There was another moment that I was really happy to see, actually, was when the inevitable emails comment came up. Mm-hmm. Hillary Clinton handled that really well. Just, I made a mistake. It was wrong. I would do it differently. Yeah.
Basically.
It's not difficult, you know?
Yeah, well, the email thing, that's just something that's been, like, I think the Republicans, they've been fighting Hillary on these issues, but they've been fighting her on the weirdest issues, like this email thing in Benghazi. Like, she didn't do anything wrong in Benghazi. The email thing, she didn't do anything wrong there. Well, she might have done something wrong, but she made a mistake. Like,
she owned up to it.
That's the point, yeah.
And that's the whole point, is that they're just trying to find any conspiracy theory. I mean, most of the voters that are pro-Trump and along the Republican lines, they are conspiracy theorists to the maximum. And this is the disturbing part. They are radicalized voters.
Well, they're coming out of the woodwork. I guess
sure.
Even if Trump does, I think the scariest thing with the Trump campaign is not if Trump becomes president. It's the fact that these people, even if he goes away, they'll still be there. Yeah. And now they're, I guess, very vocal. There are things, for example, there are things you can, like, I find that I could criticize Hillary Clinton on, but it's not what the Republicans bring up. It's not like, I mean, I would criticize her for the coup in Honduras. I would criticize her for being on the board of directors of Walmart. Like, admittedly, she did try to make situation better for women and stuff like that, make more gender parity. But still, she was on the board of Walmart, and the thing, and like trying to stifle the minimum wage and hate. I would criticize her for that, but I wouldn't criticize her for Benghazi or emails. It's just ludicrous, really.
Well, I mean, what else can you do if you are like a Republican but hit those buzzers? You know, they're trying to beat a dead horse past death. They're chasing it to the afterlife, essentially. And I agree with you. I'd say those issues are well and done talked about, and I'm personally sick of hearing of them.
Imagine being there for 11 hours testifying, like, well, as she was earlier, right? About
right.
everything.
Benghazi,
Yeah. 11 hours in Congress, and then, like, would you... I mean...
It's unreal. Yeah.
And then having to bring it up all the time. 11 hours.
Talk about emotional labor.
Yeah, I've never done anything for 11 hours. That's not true. But I've never done anything but sleep for 11 hours.
People go to work for 11 hours. Actually, people have 2 jobs sometimes, work for more than 11 hours a day.
I am lucky I'm not one of them.
Yeah. I think they maybe have it worse than Hillary Clinton, but at least it's just ridiculous what was happening. But were there any debate highlights for you guys, or any lowlights, or?
It was just appalling to watch overall.
Yeah, I know. I was watching. I was eating my popcorn for that. It was definitely a popcorn worthy thing. I mean, it's interesting to watch a train wreck, but and then I think Trump continued on. He tweeted about that Miss Universe
at 4 in the
like
morning.
4 in the morning. I think Hillary. One thing she actually did was she tweeted something about some positive thing about America not dividing, and she tweeted it at 3:30 in the morning, just to make a comment. I guess probably said it. She probably set her Twitter to go off at that time. I don't think she was maybe up doing it herself. Like, I think that's the difference between Trump actually tweeting himself and his handlers tweeting. Like when his campaign manages it, he sounds a little bit more together. But then when it's him personally doing it, when it's something like that, bad. Of course, that distracted from the fact that there was a story about him being having done business in Cuba in the 90s, which is illegal and actually technically treason. I mean, it's stupid. Cuba shouldn't, but whatever. That was the law, and it technically is treasonous. And then I think when that was coming into the news, his tweet about the Miss Universes at 3 a.m. came out, and everybody started talking about that. So
deflection.
It's a total deflection. One thing I will say, though, this is like something that came out a little bit the other day, was leaked. In February, Clinton was giving a speech about at some private donor's house, and she made some comments about Bernie supporters. And at one point, she compared, she was like, well, on the right hand, I don't know if this is exactly, on the right wing, we have all this racism and xenophobia. On the left wing, we have this desire for free healthcare and education. And she was sort of equating the two of them. And I thought that was kind of weird. And then she said that basically Bernie Sanders voters all live in their parents' basements and work as baristas, and no one. And if they don't,
that's not true.
I live in my parents' attic, okay, not in their basement.
I used to be a barista. I'm also not a millennial, but but it's. I mean, it made a point, but just the sort of condescending tone she had with it, and like that's the kind of thing. That's where like when I'm seeing this, I'm like Trump is horrible. I think you could be a Hillary Clinton voter or a Canadian saying you should vote for Hillary Clinton without being a Hillary Clinton supporter.
Yeah, exactly.
And I think that's a key thing. Like that's and I find sometimes the Clinton campaign should just maybe accept the fact that some of the people will vote for her because they don't want Trump, but aren't going to like her no matter what she says, and they're going to keep saying that Bernie's better or Jill Stein's better or someone's better. But
unfortunately, Jason, I think that's the camp that most Americans in Canada are in.
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, you two actually can vote in this election.
Yeah.
Yes, correct.
And are you voting in this election?
Yes, I am.
I must.
Yeah.
Let's go with what state?
Connecticut.
Georgia.
Wow, Georgia. That's the chances of that going Democrat aren't that great, are
It's
they?
actually closer than you'd think.
Really?
So we're rocking like the 42% margin here, blue state. So it's definitely way more red than blue, but we're making some progress down there. A lot of the women in the South, specifically like the Daughters of the Confederation, have supported Hillary Clinton, which is the first for them.
Is it because she's a woman or because they don't like Trump?
It's because she's a woman.
Okay.
Which is another one of those button issues that you have to discuss as an American in Canada. You know, people will always ask you your opinion on geopolitics, and I personally would like to take this time to say, please stop asking me about my opinion.
Yeah. Except when you're being on the podcast. Yeah. If you're,
Except when I'm volunteering it.
When you're volunteering it, it's okay. It's acceptable. But I guess your take, the part of your opinion that's interesting is, I mean, do you think that the Trump factor is having any influence on the red aspects of Georgia? Like, are they Trump Republicans down there, or are they like traditional George Bush Republicans?
Well, I think it actually has a lot to do with income disparity. So if you look at the wealthier Republicans, at least in my own personal experience, sleeping generalization cannot. Anyway, I believe that they're more inclined to vote for like a second string Republican in that sense, or a lot of them are actually leaning towards Gary Johnson. I've been hearing rumors of that. I know. I can't believe some Bernie supporters are going Gary Johnson.
They were never Bernie supporters.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the ones who are going Trump because they hate there's like going to Joe Stein makes sense logically because the policies are similar. Going to Clinton is just you don't want Trump to win. Yeah. Going to Trump even is just because you want to punish the Democrats. But going to Johnson, like that's just
everybody
weird.
Yeah.
That's like doesn't make any sense.
I believe it was 3 days ago. Bernie posted on his Facebook and Twitter stuff like, "This is not the time for a protest vote. Please, I understand you're upset. I am too. But think about the consequences here."
Yeah.
You know.
But then a week like that comes out, and people are reminded again why they don't like Hillary.
Yeah,
so
no
it's.
Kidding.
But I think if the Clinton campaign was just accepted that people could dislike her but still vote for her, and then basically try to hold her feet to the fire, or maybe try to challenge her in the primaries next time when Trump's not running. I don't know. That's So you're Connecticut, where you say is 50-50 blue.
No, it's going to go Democrat. It's pretty much always has. Connecticut's probably one of the most income disparate places in the world, definitely in the U.S. In that you've got one county, Fairfield County, where I am from, that happens to be, the headquarters of the hedge fund world and everything. And then you've got Bridgeport and Hartford, which the rest of the state, if you amputated Fairfield County, would look a lot like Kentucky in an economic map in terms of like two large cities, very little manufacturing now, but there used to be a lot, that sort of thing, right? So Connecticut has a lot of Republicans who are very, very educated, very wealthy, and you would expect them to want to be second-string Republican voters. My own town nominated Donald J. Trump, and it's like you get people who you would expect better from them, but it's just it's I think it's motivated out of spite for Hillary more than anything else.
Definitely.
Yeah.
I mean, as somebody whose family is literally torn apart by this election, I can vouch for that. It's that people are saying, I'm with Trump because I'm not with her. Or like, I'm with her because I won't be for Trump.
Yeah.
And I think that kind of rhetoric is just deepening the gender divide in this nation already.
Well, one observation I can't remember who it was that made this point. Actually, it was the Young Turks that made this point, so I'll give them a quote. Both candidates have such a negative rating against them that whoever this election is about, the other candidate will win. If it's about how bad Trump is, Clinton will win. If it's about how bad Clinton is, Trump will win.
That's interesting.
And that's so basically the Clinton campaign should focus on Trump, which they've been doing. I mean, they've been speaking about her positives as well too, but they've been focusing a lot on Trump. He accused her of releasing all these nasty videos against him, when in fact the videos he released are all basically the videos she released are all him giving speeches. So but still, she's definitely focusing on the negative. But to focus on the positive, let's go to the community calendar.
October 20th through to 31st, CKT is hosting their annual funding drive. CKT's 28th annual funding drive is an 11-day-long fundraising campaign essential to CKT's annual operating budget. It's a celebration of all the accomplishments, efforts, and hopes that are at the core of CKT's social justice-oriented mandate. The staff, volunteers, and programmers together organize a special programming and events and bring together friends and family and communities to support and honor the importance of alternative media. It's also the time of year that CKT thanks the broader Montreal community for all the community support, past and present. Their goal this year is to raise $50,000. And one of the events, October 30th, to kick off this funding drive is a dinner hosted by the Smoo Ballroom. There'll be food, live entertainment, fun activities for participants of all ages. The food will be provided by local restaurants, and the music will be performed by local musicians and curated CKT DJs. And of course, as mentioned earlier, Candyass Cabaret is happening at Cafe Cleopatra. That's Friday, October 21st. Doors open at 9, show starts at 10, and it's $10 at the door.
And now, predictions.
Predictions!
I predict that protests in Montreal will get a whole lot cuter when puppies start joining.
I predict that the gazebo will burn down on January 1st and Denis Coderre will be seen nearby.
I predict that Pitbull, the musician, will have something stern to say about Montreal and will boycott the city for future concerts.
I predict that NBC will replace future debates with debate skits from Saturday Night Live.
I predict that Pokemon Go will be beat soon.
I predict the DNC shimmy is going to be the hottest new dance craze.
And I predict that I'll finally get committed people to join my D&D group, thanks to Stranger Things.
And I predict that I will finally watch Stranger Things and all of Luke Cage, and that's not an unrealistic prediction, for 2 weeks. So that's our podcast. Thanks to everyone. Now, there's some things you might have heard these in the community calendar, but Vincent, you're playing a show?
Yeah, so I just recently started, I'm part of the house band at a new bar in Montreal called Pompette on the corner of Rachel and Saint Laurent. The owners are wonderful, incredibly supportive staff. They are like biker types who are really into Sabbath, and I didn't expect them to run a cocktail bar, but they do a very good job at it. And October 26th.
And Velma, you're also performing?
Yes, Friday, October 21st is the Candyass Cabaret.
Ooh.
So good times, good guests. It's a Halloween theme, so you'll have to come on down and check it out.
Cafe Cleopatra.
Cafe Cleopatra.
Of course.
Of course.
Of course. And
If you guys get hungry, come see me at McGill Pizza Tuesday, Thursday afternoons. That's on the corner of Milton and Lorne in the McGill Ghetto.
And you can reach me on social media or just by shouting very loud. So thanks, everyone. We'll catch you again in 2 weeks for the next FTB podcast.
Bye.